Hi friends, I'm Lauren Bernick, and I'm flipping the script about growing older. My guests have been influencers since before that was even a thing. Welcome to the Anti-Aging Podcast. Welcome to Age Like a Badass Mother. Renee King-Sonnen, Rowdy Girl's Sanctuary's founder and executive director, has been on the forefront of animal rights activism ever since she rescued her husband's Texas herd from slaughter and went vegan. Their story went viral on CBS Evening News in 2016. That media event launched an international following and fan base that has propelled Rowdy Girl into the forefront as a leader in the animal rights movement. In 2016, Renee won the Veg News prestigious Vegan Rookie of the Year award. She is currently featured in a documentary called Rowdy Girl that had its world premiere in Toronto, Canada in 2023 at Hot Docs, the largest film festival in North America, and their U.S. premiere was at the Hamptons Film Festival. Renee recently completed her memoir, presently titled Secret Diary of a Cattle Rancher's Wife. Rowdy Girl, the documentary, is being screened in theaters nationwide. Go to rowdygirlfilm.com for the screening dates. Please help me welcome Renee King-Sonnen. Hello.
Oh, thank you. Gosh, what a warm welcome, and you got it all right.
I got it all right. Let me tell you, I talk to a lot of cool people that I get excited about, but I have been so excited to talk to you because I follow you on social media. I've known of your story and I just absolutely admire you. You are just, you're kind of the epitome of aging well because, well, we'll get into it because of all the things that you're doing. I just think you're just so incredibly cool, but I know we both grew up in, Houston, right? You grew up in Houston?
Right, yeah.
What was your childhood like? Did you guys eat like the typical American diet at your house?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I grew up poor. So my mama divorced my daddy when I was 10. And so she had to work 3 jobs to put us 3 kids through school. That off. She had to work three jobs to put us kids through school. And just to buy us the things we, thought we needed, and so our food was like, Spam. She bought Spam in a can and fried it with onions and bell peppers. One of my favorite things to eat that she made all the time was fried ribs. Like she would buy these slabs of ribs. Today it mortifies me to think about it. When I see them in the supermarket, I'm like, ah! But we used to buy these and she used to slice up all these different ribs and she'd salt and pepper them, put garlic powder on them and deep fry them.
So how long was it between when you married Tommy and moved out to the ranch till you started having that uneasy feeling about like, oh, this is bad. What's going on with the animals here?
Well,
or was it a gradual thing?
Well, it definitely was gradual. You don't grow up. You don't grow up. You don't live on a cattle ranch with a man that you've been married to twice and, on a cattle ranch and think about going vegan. You don't do that. You don't even think about that. As far as uneasy, you don't, that's the other part, how are you? The uneasiness is you're supposed to not feel it. If you do feel it, you're supposed to immediately shove it down. But I can tell you that the moment I started having like an oh my God moment was the first time Tommy rounded up all the calves and sent them to the sale barn. I was out there helping or trying to. I mean, I wasn't much help. But I was out there, the first time. And when the trailer took off down the road that first time, and I talk about this all the time, when the mamas started crying and the babies started crying. And
because these are the babies going in the little red trailer that you always talk about, right? The babies are going for sale and the mamas are chasing them and crying.
Chasing them all the way up the highway and crying for days and days and days. And
Ugh.
I could still see those babies, with their mothers, enjoying their life. And then I remember their eyes filling with tears and just being shocked whenever we trapped them to leave. And that was the moment that I was like, oh my God, but I wasn't, I had no vegan ideas at the time. I was just like shocked that how I felt.
Yeah. I mean, I think probably anybody with a heart, I guess it's not though, because, you just put it out of your mind. There's a lot of cattle ranchers who go through the same thing. So I can't say everybody. They don't think.
They don't even, they just keep moving.
They keep doing it.
But we did too. We kept doing it. I mean,
yeah.
I just started waking up. That was the moment I started waking up.
You started waking up. And then I guess the nail in the coffin for poor Tommy was when he was he made a serious miscalculation. He was trying to get you to be a good rancher's wife. And he tell the story about Rowdy Girl.
She became the reason for me to get up in the morning. She became the reason I wanted to run outside and, open a gate to go be with Rowdy Girl to feed her. And, from the outside looking in, Tommy thought maybe this was going to work, but, then I started treating her like, my child, and, she's a calf. And he was like, Renee, you got to separate, you got to separate this, you can't, be so, you can't care that much. But I started caring that much. And, I started seeing the world through Rowdy Girl's eyes, and that's what led me down the rabbit hole I never could get out of one day.
Did you name her Rowdy Girl? Or did she come
right out of the gate? As soon as I saw her, as soon as she came out of the gate, she was bouncing around, bucking her heels, and I just said, look at that little Rowdy Girl.
I mean, it's probably not lost on you. I'm sure you've thought this before, that do you think you felt such a kinship with her because you're a rowdy girl?
It never occurred to me that I was going to be called Rowdy Girl because of her. But everybody thinks I'm Rowdy Girl, that doesn't know the story. They may not know the story of Rowdy Girl the cat, but they know my story. They just hear the name Rowdy Girl. I don't know, man. People think I'm Rowdy Girl. They see me somewhere and they call me Rowdy Girl.
Is this about when you started pulling out your guitar and singing to them?
Yeah, it was. I think somewhere around in there, I started singing to the cows. I don't know when it was. I mean, there was almost a 5-year period where it was kind of like, when water drips on a rock, it eventually goes all the way through. It was like that. I mean, the business of animal agriculture is like a behemoth. It is huge. And the only way we're going to wear it down is to just not stop dripping on top of it. Not stop, keep going. Even though we think we may never get through, we got to keep doing it because we will get through. And so it took about almost 5 years of me, doing what I was doing. Tommy would load the animals up to go to the sale barn. After the first time when I pretty much lost it, I was like, I don't like this. I don't want to be a part of this. I just knew I didn't like it. I told him, I said, I don't like it. I don't like the way it feels. These poor animals, they're crying. I would go outside and I would cry with them. I would have a little funerals for the ones that went to sale. I'd make little headstones for each one of them. And Tommy was like, Renee, you're losing your mind. I'm like, I just can't help it, and I wasn't a vegan. I was just having a spiritual awakening on a cattle ranch, and and it took me a while to wake all the way up. And so then he'd have to hide it from me. He wouldn't be able to do it like when I was home. He would do it when I wasn't home.
He'd put him in the red trailer when you weren't there.
When I wasn't home, and I always knew when I got home because of the mamas crying and the dead silence. It was, I knew, and I would my stomach would hurt. I would cry, and I wasn't a vegan. I was a person like so many out there, so many wives of cattle ranchers that have feelings for their animals. And
so then what was the the story about how you went vegan and then you raised the money.
And I'm going crazy. I'm trying to make sense of what we're doing. This is 2014, sometime in there. And Tommy was going nuts because I was crying all day. I was screaming. And one day it was in October that I stumbled on Dr. Melanie Joy's dissertation on carnism. And have you seen it?
I've read her book. I haven't seen the movie, but so on speciesism. Tell a little bit about it.
Yeah, it's a short little thing, but it was on Halloween, and all of a sudden, it went from this slaughterhouse video to Dr. Melanie Joy's story, and everybody's sitting around a table and they're eating, what we always ate at home, beef stew. Everybody's eating beef stew. I loved beef stew growing up. And everybody's eating it, good. And somebody says, oh, what's the recipe? And the lady of the house says, oh, I'm so glad you asked. You start off with a pound of very young golden retriever. And I was watching this, just like I'm watching you here. And it was as if time stood still. And for a moment, I slid down the rabbit hole, and I was like, oh my God, I could be eating a chopped up dog. I could be eating anybody's body. How do you know what those chopped up body pieces really are? And how do you know from how many different animals they come from? How do you know if some of them aren't a goat, a cow, a horse, or a human? How do you really know? Or a dog? It's all flesh is flesh. How do you know? And so I had this awakening at that moment on Halloween of all days. And then she says, oh, just kidding. It's really a cow. Well,
right.
By that
speciesism, right? It's like, it's okay to eat a cow, but it's not okay to eat a dog, I think is her whole shtick, right? Her whole point.
So by that
it's like, what's the difference?
So by that time, I was like, I mean, nobody could eat the stew because everybody had already got the impression that they were eating a dog. So they were enjoying it one moment, and then the next moment, because they thought it was a dog, they couldn't eat it. To your point, speciesism, And so I was like, oh God, and Tommy comes in, Renee, get ready. We got to go to my mother's house. It's, it was a big block party, the Halloween block party. And we did it every year with all the family and all the kids and all the in-laws and the outlaws and all the costumes and food, and then we had all the big parade going down the road with all the kids in their costumes. So off we go. And Tommy was like, you got to stop crying and put your makeup on, whatever. And so we got to my mother-in-law's house, and we walk in, and the smell of wonderful food filled the air, and all the kids are playing, lots of noise, lots of ruckus, everybody in their costumes, all the grown-ups talking. And my mother-in-law walks out, and she says, Renee, would you like a bowl of beef stew? The timing was perfect. I was like, I can't eat that. And she said, why not? I said, because it's got floating, dead, hacked up animal bodies in it, and I can't eat it. And
she must have thought you lost your mind.
Everybody did. They were all talking. They all stopped talking and looked at me. and my mother-in-law was like, oh, what did you say? And I repeated it. I said, it's got floating, dead, hacked up animal bodies in it, and I can't eat it. I'm done. And she was like, oh, well, Renee, you can pick it out. And I was like, no, there ain't no more picking it out for me. And that is the moment I slid down the rabbit hole, and I didn't know I was going vegan that day. I went vegan that day. I didn't plan on it. But see, there was almost 5 years stacked up of torment, of me going crazy, that led to this moment. And it couldn't have been more perfect. See, I really do think Rowdy Girl orchestrated it.
Yeah.
I believe she did. I believe Rowdy Girl, I was so connected with her spiritually, still am. But at that time, I believe animals have a lot more spiritual inclination and power and awareness than most humans. That's what led me to start the Secret Diary of a Cattle Rancher's Wife, was just to start talking about this, you know. And so one thing led to the other, and that's how I ended up deciding to do the fundraiser. It took a while. Tommy didn't know that I had started the Secret Diary of a Cattle Rancher's Wife. He had no idea. You know, it was my way of figuring out how to connect to a vegan world I didn't know anything about. And so that's when Kip Anderson reached out to me, the director and producer of Cowspiracy and What the Health and Seaspiracy and the current Christspiracy. You know, he's been on our board, you know, since the very beginning, and a very dear friend and mentor of mine. And he reached out to me. I didn't know who he was, and he said, you know, why don't you try to raise the money on crowdfunding? That's what I did to raise the money for Cowspiracy. And I was like, I didn't know anything about that. I knew nothing about any of that. I'd never raised money online. I'd raised money before for other things, but not online. And so my head started turning, and I started putting, you know, all the things together. And I had other people in the Facebook group that wanted, or the Facebook page that wanted to help me. And so I put a fundraiser page together on Indiegogo, and that is when I approached my husband after I already did it. I did it without him knowing it, and then without him knowing it, I said to him one day, we were out in the pasture, and I said, hey, I said, he had already decided he was going to sell all the cows and just get out of the business.
Because you were fighting so much?
I was blocking him. I wouldn't let him sell them. I wouldn't let him. I told him, you can't do it anymore. Not on my watch. You're not going to do it. And so he, you know, we were out there in the pasture, and, you know, I said, look, what if I could figure out a way to buy your cows? Would you let me buy your cows if I could buy them and start a sanctuary for cows? He laughed at me, thought it was the funniest thing, and just chuckled real loud. You want to buy my cows? And I was like, well, what if I could? And see, I already knew I could. He didn't know that. And so
you're a rowdy girl.
Yeah, well, I sure was. And he was like, okay, Renee, well, if you could buy my cows, let's see. He said, I'll play along. I could probably get 40,000 for them at the sale barn. You know, depending on whether they got a calf or not. You know, I mean, you got to weigh them. You got to do all that to figure out for sure. He said, but you're my wife. I'll give them to you for 30,000. I was like, okay, 30,000. And will you let me, you know, lease the land for $1 a year? And he said, sure. I said, 2 years? He said, sure. Laughed again. And I was like, okay, you got a deal. I'm going to see what I can do. Okay. He didn't know I'd already done it. I mean, he didn't know I'd already had a plan to do it. I hadn't done it yet. And so, I mean, I had a whole bunch of people following that page at this point, all kind of support. And anyway, I went back to my friends on my Secret Diary of a Cattle Rancher's Wife. And I said, okay, he told me I could do it. And so he told me I could buy his cows. So let's do it. And so I went back to him the very next day and told him that I was going to raise the money, that I had a campaign, and I had a bunch of people that was supporting me, and I was starting it. And he was like, what? You do what? I said, yeah. And so I said, it started today. And so anyway, the money started coming in. Tommy started freaking out. And, you know, every step of the way, you know, he would watch videos. To his credit, every video that Jeannie gave me, he watched. He watched all of them.
Wow.
And, and that's just it. Education is key. If people will just watch some of these really educational documentaries like Cowspiracy and Health and, those kind of, he watched Speciesism, Harold Brown's Peaceable Planet, Food Matters, Forks Over Knives. I mean, a lot of those really good ones, that
I'm surprised he watched those. That's a lot. I give him credit.
he watched every single one of them.
But how long did it take you to raise the money from when you started to when you said, okay, I'm ready?
Well, it took almost 4 months. Or is it going to be like edited?
Yeah, I'll edit it.
Yeah, well, I didn't know I had big balls. I mean, that's really what was going on.
You could say big balls. You could say anything you want on this podcast.
That's what was going on. I didn't realize that I had grown a pair. And I was like, just could not stomach it. I told him, I said, if you take those cows up the road one more time, I will follow you.
Yeah.
And I will go to the sale barn. I'll bring them all back with your credit card. I'll take your credit card with me. I'll buy them all back. And I will make you the most embarrassed cattle rancher in Brazoria County.
Well,
yeah, that's what I told him before he finally, agreed to all this.
Wow. And that gets at the heart of the matter of why I wanted to talk to you, because, this is about aging well. And so what does your story have to do with aging well? It's that, I asked the question, why do some people age like depleted versions of their former selves and some people age like badass mothers? And what you did to pivot at that point in your life and to listen, it took you a while. But whatever, you still did it. You listened to that voice, you listened to your soul, and you did it. You had your big balls and you did it. And because you were a rowdy girl. But I mean, are you somebody how old were you when all that happened?
I was, so we will be 10 years old, February the 20th. So I was 56, 57.
Okay. So, you were at a pivotal point in your life. You weren't like, 20, 30 years old. You're like at a point where people are pretty set in their ways, but you answered the call and you followed your passion. And that's why I think you are so badass. So I wanted to ask, have you always listened to your voice, or is this something that did come with age?
Once I've always been a real intuitive. I never wanted to work for other people. I hardly ever worked for anybody a day in my life. Most everything I did was my own, like I had my own bands. I had several businesses. I worked some for other people, but not a lot.
You had some interest. You were a realtor, a singer, yoga instructor.
Still do. I still do yoga.
I know. We're going to talk about that.
Do all that. But so because I would say that I am pretty intuitive that way, and I do listen to my gut. It's through the years, it's gotten more and more strong. I've gotten more and more discerning. When I was younger, because of the violence in my household and all the stuff that happened, I was mixed up and confused, and I trusted the wrong people. But as I got through all that and went in recovery, because I'm in recovery, as I got sober and started, getting clear, my intuition became sharp. And so I made this decision because one of the main reasons is because in the program of Alcoholics Anonymous, there is a primary principle of to thine own self be true. And one of the things I was learning during this pivotal time was being true to myself. My AA sponsor was very much teaching me and instructing me on a daily basis on how important it was for me to be true to myself. And so as hard as it was for me to go against Tommy's tradition, his culture, his background, his everything. Being true to me was something I had to do to stay sober.
Yeah, because I read that your dad was an alcoholic and he was violent and so forth. And I admire you for that, for getting sober. So you were getting sober before you went vegan? That was, yeah. How long ago was that?
I've been trying to get sober for 35 years. I've got 11
Wow.
and a half years sober today.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah, of course.
You really are amazing. You're amazing.
It's a tough road for me, but getting sober was just like going vegan. Getting sober was more important for me than going vegan, because if I didn't get sober, I'd have never gone vegan.
Right.
And so getting sober and learning to be true to myself. See, and so Tommy got to experience me being 100% authentic. Probably, even though I had good intuition, me being authentic in that moment with Tommy, telling him, I would die for them cows. I would take a bullet in the street. I would follow him to the sale barn. I'd buy them all back with his credit card. See, that was all me being true to me. And I didn't know what it meant. I didn't know what was going to happen as a result of that. And none of it mattered. Because I believed that God was in charge. I believed that God brought me all the way to this point for a purpose. And I believe he was leading me through Rowdy Girl.
Mm-hmm. Is Rowdy Girl still alive?
Oh, absolutely. Very much. Rowdier than ever.
Just like her mama.
Yep.
I know that so we talked a bit about yoga. I know that yoga is like a big part of your life. It's a big part of mine too. I love yoga. I see your yoga posts, and what, just besides flexibility and strength, all that, what do you think yoga has given you?
Oh, wow. One of the things yoga has given me is the ability to reinvent myself over and over again. Yoga has been with me. I've got, I added up all the hours of teacher training, and it's somewhere close to 1,000 of just teacher trainings I've had. And so I am the kind of person that needs to be present in my body and my mind. For so many years, because of the alcoholism in my home and because of my own havoc that I created in my own life because of my alcohol and drug addiction, yoga was like the way that I could get centered in the midst of it all. Even though I was still in my alcoholism and drug addiction, even though I was still experiencing all the things I was experiencing, I could still get on my yoga mat and breathe. And it was through yoga that I learned that I could shed all these harmful things, all these harmful, not only alcohol and drugs, but also eating. It's been part of that. I mean, ahimsa is real. I mean, nonviolence is a real tenet of yoga, and nonviolence means no harm, period.
Right. That's ahimsa. That's what ahimsa means.
Yeah. And so, so yoga has been like kind of the side-by-side car to my sobriety. It's always been like my part of my path, just like my sobriety.
Yeah, I've been doing yoga for probably close to 30 years, and I don't know who I would be without yoga. I would be like a house on fire. Talk about a rowdy girl. Oof. Yeah. I mean, it really calms you. For me, I feel connected to the earth, to other people, especially when you share breath with other people in your practice. And speaking of, I found I think it was on your board member page, the Meet the Team, your song resonating to the sound that you wrote and sang. And I actually did a meditation to that today. It's so beautiful. It's so beautiful. You're a fantastic singer. You're a woman of many talents.
Thank you. But I appreciate you doing that. Make me bring tears to my eyes. That's a very special song to me.
Oh, it's very special. I ohmed with you and I meditated. And so,
Om Namah
ah,
Shivaya.
oh, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. So anybody who wants to listen to that can go to the, I guess it's on the Rowdy Girl website, right? Cause
I don't even know where
it's on I found it on under the board members, meet the team. So first you have to go to the Rowdy Girl Sanctuary website and then I'll post it in the show notes for anybody who wants to hear it. It's
There you go.
just beautiful.
Thanks.
And, so did you meet Tommy when you were singing? Is that right?
Yeah.
You met him yeah. So you were singing in a bar and what? He caught your eye?
I met him in a bar. In fact, his best friend that disowned him whenever whenever I went vegan, is the one that introduced us.
Oh,
Robert Vaughn introduced me and Tommy. I was singing at a Hilton nightclub in the bar, and in walks Tommy at about 11 o'clock. The closing time was midnight, and unbeknownst to me, his friend had called Tommy at work. He worked for Dow Chemical, and Tommy was on evenings, getting off at like 11 o'clock or getting off at like 10 o'clock, and he could be there by 11. Anyway, Robert told Tommy that there was a girl up here at the nightclub that wanted to meet him, and that I was hot, and that he really wanted that I really wanted to meet him, but I didn't tell him that. And then so Tommy's coming up there thinking that there's a girl there wanting to meet him. And I had on my red spandex and, my fringe and my white boots, and in walks Tommy. And I thought, well, that's a good looking man. He walks in, he sits down and by Robert, and I step off the stage because part of my performance stick was to do wireless. I'd go wireless out into the audience, and I'd sit on men's laps and I'd sing to them. And so as soon as Tommy sat down up at the bar, I went and sat down on his lap, and there's a spotlight on both of us, and Tommy's shy. And so I started singing Crazy to Tommy, and it's been crazy ever since.
Poor Tommy. He didn't know what hit him with that red spandex and fringe. He had no idea what he was in for. Good Lord, poor Tommy. But also not poor Tommy, because you made his life beautiful. And you have this documentary that's out right now, Rowdy Girl, that was produced by Moby. Talk about big deal.
Well, it was executive produced by Moby.
Moby. And then what?
The
Kip
director
Anderson
and producer is Jason Goldman, and he is brilliant. Jason is the one that reached out to Moby to see if he would be involved, and so Moby has been the most amazing person to be involved with the project. He's also going to endorse, my book, and so it's really exciting to have him on the Rowdy Girl team. I met Moby for the first time in 2016 when I got the Vegan Rookie of the Year award at the Veg News from Veg News at the Animal Rights Conference. And so anyway, that's where I first met Moby. And so it's been a really close relationship really ever since. He's always loved our work, followed us, liked the stuff we do. And I went to his house when I was in California, and he interviewed me for his podcast. It's going to be out one of these days soon. And so, yeah.
That's incredible. So everybody pay attention. This is what happens when you follow your heart and you listen to your voice and you stay true to yourself. Like that is look at what's happened to you.
If you go to rowdygirlfilm.com, you can get all the screening dates. You can see where we've been, where we're going. We recently just got another, our Rowdy Girl Impact Tour got funded again this year. So we've got $100,000 commitment for the tour, for the next year. And so, yeah, we're going to be going all
That's over. For the film, like to show the film in different places?
Yeah, to get out, to go and move and groove.
Are you going to bring it to Austin, or do I need to do that? Because I want it to come to Austin.
You get on rowdygirlfilm.com, And there's a place on there where you can you can say that you want to bring it to Austin. Yes, let's get it to Austin.
Austin? I mean, you're right down the road. How far are you from Austin?
An hour.
Oh, yeah. We have to get it here. Let's do that.
We have to get it in Austin.
Yeah, we're going to do that. Okay, I'm just going to ask you a couple more questions about, is there anything else you want us to know about your story or before I move on?
Gosh, well, the only other thing that is happening that is kind of fun to know, is fun fact, is Kip Anderson, Cameron Waters, who is, the co-director of Christspiracy, and Roger Wolfson and I are working on a movie for film for the Rowdy Girl story. It's a film, so
like a fictionalized film of it.
So, I mean, it's very true to life, but it does have some dramatic in it. And so the outline for the script, the outline for the script is finished, and so it's being shopped around to some pretty big people and in the movement. So we'll see.
Is that different than Miss Liberty, Victoria Moran's film? Okay. So this is actually Rowdy Girl. Okay.
Rowdy Girls. I mean, this is going to be like with big stars.
Your real story. Oh my gosh. I'm so excited for you.
Yeah.
That's very exciting.
Yeah.
Well,
that is exciting.
You're living the life. All right. So what is your best piece of advice for aging well?
My best piece of advice for aging well is to always go backwards. I mean, never retire. I really think retiring makes you want to give up. I know so many people that have retired and they don't live long after that. And, I think it's important to love what you do. And if you don't love what you do, learn to love it. You can't go around not liking what you do and hating it. Some people actually hate what they do. They even say those words. I hate my job. You got to love what you do. And if you don't love what you do, you got to learn to love what you do or do something different.
Yeah. So you said you mean don't go backwards, right? Didn't you say go backwards? Or what do you mean by go backwards?
In other words, don't, what did I say? Don't go backwards?
You said go back. I think you said go backwards.
Go backwards. Yes, that's what I said. I said go backwards. In other words.
What is that? Oh, reframe it. Like reframe what
reframe your life. Don't go. Because you got to keep reframing your life. You can't, if you keep just thinking I'm getting old, going forward, I'm getting old.
Okay.
I'm getting old. I'll be 67 in February. And
you're a firehouse.
I don't act that way.
Look at you, don't act it.
You can't do that. If you want to be youthful, you got to act that way. And if you're going to feel that way, you got to do yoga. You got to eat good. You got to not put things in your body that's going to kill you, or eat dead animals and all the things that go with that. You got to surround yourself with good people that put the healthy things in your thoughts, in your ears. You got to get away from that TV. I don't watch any of it. I have my house, my room is my sanctuary. Yeah.
Wow, that's good advice. This doesn't have to be age related, but what's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
The best piece of advice I have ever received would be to be true to myself.
Well, that you are. Well, I think I know the answer to part of this because we already talked about your dad a little bit, but what did you learn from watching your parents age, good or bad?
My mother is, diabetic, and, she's got the mind of a very youthful person, but her body is starting to give out on her, and she won't change the way she eats. What I've learned from that is, gosh, I certainly don't want to be that way. And my daddy died very young, from alcoholism. He had diabetes too. And, he died from, some kind of complications to all that stuff. And yeah, I just, I've learned that I don't have to follow in my parents' footsteps. I don't have to. I don't have to live that script. And I don't.
Yeah, no, you do not. Do you have a favorite health or beauty product?
Yes.
What is it?
I love Neil's Yard Remedies, and they have a great frankincense line for skincare, and I use it all the time. I use it for years.
Yeah, that's good. Okay, you'll have to text or send that to me so we can put that in the show notes too.
I like Echo Bella's rosewood lipstick.
Oh, nice. Okay. The women always come with their products. And when I ask the men, they're like, they never have anything. They're just men. What about your favorite concert? Do you have a favorite concert that you've ever been to in your whole life? Like one that really stands out? What?
Heart.
What?
Heart.
Oh, Heart. Do you know we interviewed Nancy Wilson on this podcast? You'll have to listen to that. Yes, I did. I know her. Yeah.
No, you did not.
Yes, I did. Sure did. Just right before they went on tour. Yeah. Which they had to stop because her poor sister is sick. But
is she vegan?
No, she's not vegan, but is aging like a badass mother. I do interview non-vegans occasionally.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
I am so excited to know that. Yeah. When I had my, with some of my big bands, I used to sing a lot of Heart stuff. I would throw them in. And yeah, I love Heart.
I love Heart too. Oh man. Are you going to go see them when they come back on tour, when they start again?
If they do, yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Go. You and I, let's meet up.
Yeah. I already have tickets. We'll get some more. Maybe I'll see if Nancy will give us some tickets. I don't know her that well, but
meet her.
She probably won't even remember me.
Yes, she will. We'll make her vegan.
We'll make her vegan. We'll try. We're going to try. Okay. Oh my gosh. Can I come to where you live and go to yoga with you?
Yeah, I'd love to.
Oh my gosh. Okay. I will.
Willow Gardens Yoga is where I go. And they have a studio in Buda, and they have a studio in Lockhart.
Okay. Well, let's go. I'm going to come see you. All right. Renee, you've been it's been a thrill for me to talk to you. You're unbelievable. I love your story and I just love you. You just radiate goodness. Thank you.
I do want to tell you one other thing.
Tell me one other, please.
I need to tell you that one of the best things I've ever done in my life that I didn't even know I needed to do until I did it was I'm now a raw fruitarian.
I saw that. That's kind of new though, right?
July 14th.
So
it's been a long time coming. It's just I finally took the plunge.
So tell us what that means. So you just eat 100% raw fruit. Is that it?
Well, fruit. I eat leafy green salads. I eat raw almond butter, raw tahini, raw. I just eat everything raw, but mostly I don't eat a lot of I eat mostly fruit, honestly.
Wow.
Mostly fruit. And then I just had a big salad for lunch with all the good greens and all the organic produce. And
do you eat a dressing on that, or you just eat avocados?
I make it with tahini. I put my avocado in there, and I put my raw tahini, organic raw tahini with lime juice, a little water. Ta-da.
Okay, so that would fill you up because it has a little fat in it, and yeah you look amazing. I've seen that. Oh my gosh. Well, good for you. What made you decide to do that?
Well, it's part of me wanting to go backwards. I really do believe that eating raw like this takes you backwards because your body goes into autophagy and it cleanses, it moves out all the old stuff. Your body holds a lot of toxins, a lot of reserve toxins from your bad living when you were a child and all the way up to when you first go raw. And so I'm getting ready for a water fast that I'll be doing in February and March in Costa Rica. And so I'll be doing that. And so I'm getting my body ready and conditioned so that when I do the 100% water fast, I'll be ready and I'm going to be cleansing so that I can be present and available for the animals and for the youth that are coming up to be the next generation of animal rights leaders. We have to.
You're just something. Thank you so much for talking to me. It's just been honestly a thrill. You're a doll. And I'm coming to see you.
I hope you do.
I will. I'm coming to kiss all those animals.
Everybody become a member.
I will become a member. All right. Thank you, Renee. You take care.
Thank you, Lauren. Bye-bye.